I have 7 days to make a real steel video game, complete with giant robots, heavy-hitting boxing, and a stadium crowd. Have you ever seen a movie or show and thought, hey, you know what? That would make a great video game. For me, Real Steel in 2011 was always a missed opportunity for a banger video game. It's a story about a boxer named Charlie who is forced to retire in an era where robot boxing has taken the world by storm. He reconnects with his son while training an old scrapped sparring bot to climb the ranks in the World Robot Boxing Championships, taking out top competition along the way. And there was an old PS3 and Xbox 360 game that came out with the movie. You know, back when there was a shitty game for every big movie that came out, but a physical copy never existed, and the game is no longer available on any stores. So if I can't make this game in a week, then I'll have to kiss my dream of a Real Steel video game goodbye. Before we get started, make sure to cold cock that like button right in the schnoz. Also, if you haven't watched Real Steel in a while, it's probably way better than you think. I recently rewatched it with some friends and was kind of shocked that it was as good as I remember. I didn't really expect it to hold up after all these years, but it did, and that's what gave me the idea for this video. I started off with a blank project in Unity. Because I only have a week, I went with Unity instead of Unreal Engine 5 so that I could work a lot faster. I just have a lot more experience with Unity, so I can usually do everything a lot faster. Unreal Engine 5 has much better graphics, but I used Unity's HD render pipeline to try to compensate. This basically just makes the engine focus more on graphics rather than speed and efficiency, so I will have to keep that in mind when I'm actually building this game. The first thing to do is to get Adam, the main robot that we follow in the movie. In Real Steel, his son Max finds Adam in a scrapyard after almost falling to his death. Yeah, Wolverine's a real piece of shit in this movie, by the way.
I'm taking him with me. He saved my life.
No, you're not. He did not save your life. I saved your life.
And similar to the movie, I found this 3D model of Adam online, which was taken from an old scrapped video game. Remember, kids, a good artist creates, a great artist steals. The texture that's painted on this Adam model does look a little bit dated, but we'll just have to figure that out later. I needed to add animations to Adam, so I used Mixamo. Mixamo is my beloved. It's this huge library of animations that I can use in the game, and Mixamo has a bunch of boxing animations, like this boxing stance for example. All I have to do is download the animation, drag it into Unity, set it as a humanoid animation, and now I can use this animation on any other human-like characters such as Adam. Obviously he's a robot, but humanoid is referring to the skeleton that the character uses for animation. It just means that I can't use this animation on, like, a cat. That would look weird. So I was able to get Adam in a fighting stance and throw a punch. I'll be using Mixamo to add pretty much all of the animations for this game, since it saves a lot of time and the animations are better than what I can do. So I'm just really glad to have a resource like this to lean on for the game. Mixamo isn't working. I can't download animations. It says there's too many requests. What does that mean? What does that mean? Is the server getting overloaded? Should I stop asking for download more? I already tried logging off of my background. Why the hell? It says there's too many requests. Okay, everything is fine. We'll just have to do things the old-fashioned way. I made a simple block animation, and some very subtle hit reactions while blocking, but Adam needed someone to punch and get punched by, so for now I just added a copy of Adam and painted him red, and added some health bars for them both. So our Adam can throw punches and block, but we can't damage the opponent yet, he just stands there, menacingly. I still needed to code that into the game. I got to work adding hit detection to the game, starting off with hitboxes. I only added hitboxes to the head and chest area since they aren't going to be hit anywhere else. To see if the punch landed, I marked a point in the punch animation using what's called an animation event. It draws a sphere around the fist, and if that sphere overlaps with the chest or head hitbox, then it registers a hit. If the opponent is blocking though, then the punch does no damage. Right now, the only way to tell if the punch landed and did damage is from the health bar. I still needed a flinch animation to react to getting hit, but Mixamo, my beloved, still isn't working, but luckily I downloaded an animation beforehand that we can use instead. It is a comical overreaction to getting hit by a small punch, but I can swap the animations pretty easily if Mixamo, my beloved, ever comes back. At last, my beloved returns. Mixamo was back online, so I downloaded and used some more realistic hit animations. Another way to make the hits better is with sound effects. So I added some heavy metal hit sounds. No, not like that heavy metal, you know what I mean. I also coded the blocking to have a stamina meter. The block stamina gets depleted when you block a punch, and if it goes all the way down, the block gets broken, staggering you. This makes it so that you can't just hold down block the whole time. I would like to do more with this game mechanic, but we only have 3 days left, so I can't spend more time on this. This will have to be good enough right now for the base mechanics. Now it's time to start working on the arena. In the movie, there's a bunch of different places where they fight. They fight in underground fight club arenas, a rodeo, parking lots. Shit, they even fight at the zoo. But the journey ultimately leads them to fight in the main event of a massive boxing arena. So we're basically just skipping to the cool part. But I definitely cannot build a stadium from scratch for this game with the amount of time left. Luckily, I have this free handball stadium asset, and just to see how it looks, I dropped it into the level, and yeah. My PC started crying for help. Remember when I said that the HD render pipeline focuses more on graphics over efficiency? Yeah, that's kind of biting me in the ass right now. The game went from running at over 120 frames per second to less than 30 frames per second, so I really had to optimize this. I wanted the game to run at least 60 frames per second. Usually my intern Tarvis handles this technical optimization stuff, so instead of doing anything crazy, I just deleted a lot of unnecessary details in the stadium. This stadium is ridiculously detailed. It has individual seats, back hallways, bathrooms, locker rooms, garbage cans, a homeless guy peeing on the side of the... No, I'm just kidding, it doesn't have that. But we actually don't need any of that stuff. We just need the basic structure for the background. So I deleted as much extra detail as possible, and now our level runs so much smoother now. And it's back up to about 100 frames per second. And the limited detail is fine since the spotlight is going to be on the fighting in the ring. And speaking of the ring, I found a boxing ring online and used that for the game. Now that the level is starting to come together, I started working with the lighting. I needed most of the level to be dark, with the ring being spotlighted. So I swapped out the skybox for a nighttime setting and turned the lights down as much as possible, while adding lights to shine on the ring. This kind of lighting also helps make the robot models look a lot better too. The realistic lighting makes them look a lot better. The ring lighting looks great, but the dark stadium is pretty boring and lifeless, so I decided to add jumbotrons to the background. Basically, I set up a camera above the ring, but instead of rendering what the camera sees to the player's screen, it renders to a texture. Then I use that texture on a flat plane, make it glow a little bit, and now we have jumbotrons in the background, which look awesome. But I also wanted it to look like there's a crowd in the audience. But I can't just add a million character models in the crowd. That would be so much worse than the stadium, and the stadium almost made my PC explode. So instead, I added a bunch of camera flashes to the stands to make it look more alive. The cameras are actually a muzzle flash effect for when you shoot a gun, but instead I just made them white, so now they look like camera flashes. And honestly, the background looks pretty good for almost no extra drain on my PC. So now I just had to clean up little things here and there so that we can finish up when we're almost done. I added a little countdown to the beginning of the fight, so that there's a little bit of time before the action starts. I also made the cameras start far out and zoom in to begin the fight, just for dramatic effect. I made the cameras zoom in as they get closer together in the fight, and zoom out when they're farther apart to keep them in frame. I added a little victory animation when you win. And I swapped out the evil red Adam for who I think is the coolest robot in the movie, Noisy Boy. I know the final battle in the movie is against Ivanka Trump and their aura farming robot Zeus, but the Japanese themed robot Noisy Boy just looks so badass to me. Unfortunately, in the movie he gets murked in his very first fight, which prompts them to go and find Adam in the scrapyard, but I think Noisy Boy deserves a little bit more action, even though we're just gonna beat him up some more. Anyway, now finally after 7 days, here is some gameplay for Real Steel. honestly, I think the game looks really cool. That was kind of the main goal, to look cool. The gameplay is very bare bones, and I would love to expand on this in the future, but I ran out of time, and I can already hear Disney banging on the door to sue me. I think there's a lot of potential here for a cool career mode, where you take your prize money from winning fights to buy more moves and combos. In the movie, Wolverine trains a robot by programming punches and combos with shadowboxing, so I think there could be something done here with that. I'm also thinking you can put prize money into stats and upgrades for the bot, which enable you to fight bigger and stronger opponents and win more prize money. But unfortunately, time is up for me, so I have to move on. However, if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will update this game with all of that and make a part 2. But for now, the link to the game is in the description, so make sure to check it out. And if you watch this video and got an ad for a fake mobile game, you can check out me actually making one of those mobile games in this video right here.